we can't go any further with this role without talking about Annie Hardy, who
Yeah.
plays Annie Hardy. Um, she seems completely bonkers, and even when she's at the end credits, when she's wrapping over the credits, she seems not quite of this earth. How did you find Annie, and was it written for her?
Yeah, this movie wouldn't exist without Annie. She's the only reason that I wanted to make this movie. She is a space alien, basically. She's this amazing, um, like has just has a brain that works like nobody else, and she does this show, which is what the movie is based on, for real, where she drives around LA with commenters sending her random words that she'll mix into a freestyle rap as she drives to do groceries or whatever. And she does this real show, and she does a podcast as well that Jed Shepard, one of the co-writers, produces. And so he brought Annie and this show to my attention, and immediately it was like, well, that's a great setup for a horror movie. And Annie is a final girl like you've never seen before. And so we kind of built it up from there and developed it into a treatment back pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown. uh, and then when Host became as successful as it was, and we got the opportunity to do another movie straight away, uh, I wanted to do something improvised, same as Host. And the only movie that we had, kind of ready to go was Dashcam. The only movie that we had ready to go that I thought we could pull off in that same improvisational style was Dashcam, and that's because you look at Annie in these band car videos, and you're like, her brain works a million miles a second, and
So
we
what
really relied on that.
so what we see in the film is that
Mm.
a ramped up version of her, or is that a toned down version of her?
Oh, that's not her at all. We like I only met her 2 weeks before we started shooting, so she kind of like slipped into um, this whirlwind chaos character, and brought she brought a lot of her own wit and her own kind of preoccupations to it. But uh, yeah, she's the sweetest in real life. We kind of wanted to make a movie where we wanted to make a horror movie where the film would kind of be over in 5 minutes were it not for the like
Yeah.
crazy stupid decisions of the central characters.
It's an essential part of any horror film, isn't it? Making stupid
Exactly,
decisions.
yeah.
Also, I've got to talk about Angela. Angela, now I
Yeah.
don't know if I pronounced this right. Enna Harrow.
Mm.
Now I understand she's not a professional actress either, and
No.
I'm wondering how you got her involved, particularly in terms of the, if you like, the indignities and unpleasantness that she has to go through part of the film.
Angela's amazing. I mean, she's game for anything, and she basically, we were looking to hire somebody who had this appearance of being frail and someone that you wanted to kind of take care of, especially with all these COVID connotations, but who actually would be able to do these stunts and kind of do the uh, put in the hard work that was needed to bring this to life. And I just couldn't find anyone who fit the bill, who we were comfortable with hiring. And then I was having a pint with a friend of mine. This was in between lockdowns 1 and 2, and he was like, "Oh, there's this woman in my building who's a Pilates instructor, but she's just got the most amazing look and these incredible eyes, and and I'm sure she'd be game to meet." So we started chatting, and I went over to her house with Haley from Host, and we did this kind of like 2 hour audition where we got Angela to crawl around on her couch and pretend to be a demon and gnash and snap at us. And her commitment was just total. She's one of those people that wants to leave every day feeling like she's done her best work and she couldn't have put in any more. And it's 90% of the stunts in this movie are her.
So, whilst we talk about stunts, when we spoke about Host a little while ago, you'd kind of said how difficult or awkward it had been to sort of choreograph and direct over Zoom many of
Mm.
the sequences. Now that you're kind of being freed up from that, what was your most difficult scene in this to shoot? Yeah, kind of physically.
There's the difference between this you know, I thought there would be a lot more overlap between the things that we'd learnt on Host and what we could bring over to Dashcam, and really it was a whole different language. Um, and the thing that was the toughest really was that we didn't have other cameras to cut to. You know, in Host you've got 5 cameras at all time. You've got all these characters to cut to, whereas in Dashcam you've really got to uh, you've got to hide a lot of cuts between these stunt elements, these blood elements, these things that take a lot of time to set up. And the hardest section really is there's like this 20-minute section right in the middle of the movie. It's when the shit really starts to go down. That's kind of presented as a single unbroken take with everything happening in real time. And it goes from there's people on fire, there's car crashes, there's blood effects, there's all this stuff happening, and I had to plan that out in individual pieces. And on one hand, I had to make sure that all the cuts worked, so you didn't feel the hidden cuts. And secondly, I had to make sure that the pace felt good, because once you've shot it, you're locked into the pace of all those camera moves, of the performances. So me and Haley and Emma from Host, they came over to our office, and in the parking lot, we shot that sequence out with us just acting the parts out. And I cut it together, and I made sure that every little stitch worked out. And it was painstaking, but it's you know, it feels visceral in the right way, I think, when you watch it on screen.
So the other thing that occurred to me, apart from what is the escalating chaos as the film goes on, is the streaming comments on it.
Yeah.
And I kind of find my drawn to those quite a bit. I'm just wondering, there's quite a few things in there that are like Easter eggs I spotted. A Shaun of the Dead reference in there. But I'm wondering, how long did that take, and what's your favorite comment in that?
We spent like all the months that we were in, you know, all the months that we were shooting and in post-production, and like the comments were kind of like this thing that we were doing little in dribs and drabs. And it really all came down to this week-long bender that me and the producer Douglas Cox did, where we were just like writing all these endless comments, timing them out because they had to be time coded to specific moments.
Oh, right.
The characters had to be consistent. We had to clear all of these little individual icons for the characters. And then Dan Hawkins, who created the interface, had to create a program from scratch to integrate them all, because it was just too much information. And the thing that I'm most proud of in that is that you can watch the movie just watching the comments, and every single one of those characters has an arc. They change from A to B from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. Their opinions shift throughout. And I think I don't have a favorite comment, but I've got a favorite commenter, which is this guy who has just smoked way too much weed and is watching this and kind of freaking out as it goes on.
Yeah.
And he keeps taking these little breaks away to try and calm down, and comes back and the violence has escalated and he has another freak out. And like you said, you can look in the comments for little Easter eggs about what's going on in the plot. Some of the backstory is there. There are these kind of armchair detectives who are cracking the case as Annie, you know, wanders through like a whirlwind.
So this is still a relatively low budget film, although I suspect you had a bigger budget for this than you did for Host. But was there any stuff, I mean, even though you've got car crashes, people on fire, and all the effects that go on in it, but is there anything in there that you really wanted to do and just couldn't, whether it's for budgetary constraints or otherwise?
I'm sure there was. I can't remember it now if there was. I think there was one stunt that was just impossible to do. I mean, you'd be shocked if you saw how we did some of the stunts which read as very big and you know, it's like some of the car crashes, for instance. If you saw the way that we actually pulled those off, they're so lo-fi and low budget. It really, you know, we got a tiny bit more money than we did for Host, but a lot of that went on our COVID protocol. So it really felt like a student film in the best possible way, that we were really trying to put every penny on screen.
I gather as well there was a bit where you had to construct your own water tank. So I'm guessing your production must have been an insurance underwriter's nightmare.
Yeah, it's amazing that we managed to get them all health and safety cleared, but that's down to Douglas Cox, our producer, and Drew O'Neill. They they made all of these insane ideas work, and had them all cleared and vetted. We had this underwater sequence that we just couldn't afford. No one would give us a deal on it, and so yeah, as you say, we decided to build our own underwater tank, which basically amounted to getting a shipping container and filling it with water, heating that water, and then getting a crane that lowered a car into the water uh, with our actors inside, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks
Uh,
as good as good as if we'd paid for a proper underwater studio.
so moving forward, then, finally, you've kind of really sort of made it now, and in terms of I understand you're in post production on the Boogeyman, is that right?
Yeah,
And then you've also got an independent film called Sea Home, which seems to be, is that, have I got that right? In the
yeah, that's been floating around for a while. It's just it's one of the movies that's made it onto my IMDb, so I get asked about it a lot. But I've got there's a lot of movies that are kind of in development that are teetering, but maybe touch
so,
wood, ready to go.
so how are you finding the Boogeyman then, going on to a studio film with a budget, and I'm presuming having to wean yourself away from using iPhones and
Yeah,
crews.
no iPhones in this movie. Um, it's great. I've had such an incredible experience on this movie, and I think it's going to be really fantastic. It's coming together really beautifully, and I think the thing that's making this movie such a joy, and it's what really brought Host and Dashcam together as well as the people. We had such great teams on Host and Dashcam, and I've managed to find incredible collaborators moving forward on the Boogeyman, and an insane, like, wonderful, beautiful cast who have done just incredible work that I can't wait for people to see. And I think it's nice to have a movie like Boogeyman that I've been developing for a couple of years and have really methodically put together, versus Host and Dashcam, which are very much, that if Boogeyman is a marathon, those movies were sprints, and it's got a very different language. It's a very different movie, but I'm kind of interested in trying out all different walks of horror.
Finally, I understand you've been have dealings with Sam Raimi.
Yeah, we've got a movie we're developing with Sam.
So,
He's a
as
hero of
a
mine.
as a huge horror fan that you are, and now a horror director, how is what your perception of Sam Raimi was when you were younger, before you were into directing, and now actually working with him?
Oh, it's insane. It's like it's everything that I would hope it to be. He's his when we're talking through the script, or I'm kind of talking through my ideas for the movie, he'll come up with these ideas that are so Sam Raimi, if you know what I mean. Like, he'll come up with something. It's like, that's pure Sam Raimi. That's brilliant. And he's taught me so much about story and storytelling, and putting the audience first. Really, Host was my dry run at taking what Sam had taught me, because I had this project in development before Host, and I'd already learned a lot from him. I'd worked with him for a year, and a lot of what I learned from Sam went into Host, and I really don't think I would have been able to put together such a robust movie if it weren't for a lot of the lessons that I'd taken on from Sam, and his approach to storytelling.
So, are you moving to Hollywood soon then?
I live in Hollywood at the moment.
Oh, I thought you were in London at the moment.
No, no, I'm in LA.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm living in North Hollywood, which isn't as glamorous as you might assume.
You know,
There's a lot more meth addicts and, and people with heroin needles sticking out their arms than
I
people
was in
imagine.
I was over there a couple of years ago, just before the Oscars and the first lockdown, and Hollywood Boulevard's not what I thought it would be.
Hollywood isn't what you think it's going to be, but it's yeah, it's nice to it's nice to have a change of scene, I guess.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, Rob. Really looking forward to seeing your next production.
Thanks so much.
You're really an exciting director to watch your work. Thank you.
Cheers, Simon. Appreciate it.